Joe Theismann, former Notre Dame quarterback, obviously Redskin quarterback as well, great football analyst, and he joins us now. Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I'm good, Dan. Good to catch up with you.
Current state of Notre Dame football is what?
Extremely positive. Coming off of last year's horrible performance. A lot of close games lost, a lot of injured players, started with suspensions early on. And Brian Kelly, I think, has done a terrific job redirecting this football organization. He has sort of stepped to the side as far as play calling goes and really has become sort of the CEO of the football operation. And we had Chip Long run the offense, who came out of Memphis. Mike Elko came from Wake Forest to run the defense. The strength and conditioning program has changed tremendously, and I think that's one of the big keys for Notre Dame as it's played this season, is they seem to get stronger as games go on, as opposed to losing some steam, which they did a year ago. So lots of very positive things going on in that program.
We know Notre Dame's been tested, certainly got tested at home with Georgia. Has Miami been tested enough that you have an idea of how good they're going to be this weekend?
You know, I had an opportunity over the last 2 weeks. I was at the Notre Dame USC game a few weeks ago, watched us play. Everybody thought that would be a real contest. It turned out being a very dominant win by Notre Dame. And then I had an opportunity to watch Virginia Tech and Miami play in person down in Miami this past weekend. Miami it's a tremendous group of athletes, and Mark's done a wonderful job putting his athletes together. They've won a lot of games. A lot of close games. I mean, there's games that you think they're going to lose, they wind up somehow finding a way to win, which to me is just resiliency. I think Notre Dame overall is a bit bigger, probably matches them speed for speed, and I think that was the big advantage when it came to Miami, because they've always got great athletes. They're always really fast, but I think Notre Dame has as much speed on the field on both sides of the ball as Miami does, but I don't think they've been tested like Notre Dame's going to test them.
Joe Theismann joining us on the program. You look at these quarterbacks, you got a chance to see Sam Darnold. We get hyped up over these kids because somebody's new that comes onto the scene, and then all of a sudden, defenses get a chance to go at him a second time. We get a chance to analyze him a little bit more. What did you see from Sam Darnold? And if you were his father, what advice would you give him, whether it's coming out or going back?
I would always, first of all, if you look at this class, it isn't just Sam coming out. Rosen coming out of UCLA, kid out of Wyoming. I mean, there's probably about 4 or 5 young men that are probably going to come into the game. And there's 2 ways to look at it. Number one, looking at the young man. I would always say go back for another year of school. Go back and grow up sociologically, physiologically, get physically stronger, continue to work on your skills. That's one part of it. The other side is we don't have quarterbacks in the National Football League, Dan. We've got older ones. We've got about half a dozen that are in their late 30s, and we've got a bunch of teams that really need them. We have about 10 to 11, 12 football teams that really need quarterbacks going forward. I mean, Arizona's going to be looking. Denver's going to be looking. Jacksonville always looking. Cleveland's always looking. The Jets are always looking. So if you wanted to come out this year, there's going to be a place for you in the first round. So, as advice, as a parent, I'd say get your education, because you can't, believe me, and I know injury could end your career quickly. The other side of it is, with the salary cap in place for rookies, the amount of money you make in this contract is not monumental like it used to be. Mm-hmm. We're not looking at the Sam Bradford numbers anymore. We're looking at a max, I think, of 21 over a 5-year period. Like, for example, take Dak Prescott's contract. Was it $400,000, I think, last year?
Yeah.
Not counting the bonus. And so, the economics aren't there to drive it. So as a parent, I'd say get your education. Go back for another year of school. But then, as a player, what's that school got on the field to support you? Because you've heard me say this many times. The quarterback position is the single most dependent position on the field. Now, if you're going back to a school that graduates a dozen seniors, and it's going to be a difficult road for you, then you look at going into professional football like you would going into a job. I'm going to go someplace where I get a chance to be able to work on my trade. So it isn't just a black and white, do this, do that situation.
But I also look at these quarterbacks coming in now. It almost feels like the NFL is adopting more of a college style that fits them as they go in. I know that some of the Broncos, one defensive back, Chris Harris, I think, said, the Eagles are running a college offense. Well, so what? The NFL borrows more from college than college borrows from the NFL. And so what if you're running a college-style offense that benefits Carson Wentz?
Well, stop. If you think it's a college offense, stop
I
it.
know.
Yeah. I mean, it's that simple. It's like people get upset. Oh, I can't stand the New England Patriots. Hey, if you want to be the best, beat the best. I think sure, it's a bit of a college offense, but Roger Staubach, go back 30, 35 years, ran a shotgun offense.
Yeah.
Now everybody runs a shotgun. So and that's what they do in college. The difference is we actually have a chance at the professional level to spend a lot more time in preparation when it comes to being ready to play football games. At the college level, I think you get 20 hours a week to work with the players, 4 of which is now the game. So you get 16 hours a week to put in some type of a simple offense or some type of a simple defense at the college level. At our level, defensive coordinators, I've known some of them, it's 100 hours a week. And, players aren't limited during the season, the amount of time they have to spend to study and work. So it resembles a college offense, but we don't get to the line of scrimmage and then look to the sidelines, which absolutely drives me crazy. They get ready to go, and then everybody, the offensive linemen, the wide, everybody looks at the sidelines. Yeah. If I was a defensive coach, as soon as you look to the sidelines, I'd change my defensive front. Drive everybody nuts.
Do you consider Brady the best ever?
Yes, I do. And Joe Montana, I think prior to Tom doing what he has done, was the greatest ever. I mean, certainly Peyton has accomplished an awful lot. But when you do what Tom has done with so many different people around you, and you are the reason why the success of the offense is what it is. And I think Bill Belichick's the greatest coach ever also, because you're always dealing with moving parts. It's not like you have the same group of people around you. I think Joe, for the 4 championships that he won, he had a pretty consistent group of players around him, offensive line, wide receivers, running backs. Tom, it's been like a turnstile.
Yeah.
It's like, 46 different receivers, 30-some different running backs. Goodness knows how many different combinations of offensive linemen have played in that offense. He's been with Gronk, without Gronk, with Julian, without Julian. But yet he continues to perform at an extremely high level. And so, yeah, I do. I think he's the greatest that's ever played the game.
Should we continue with Thursday Night Football?
No. I think Thursday Night Football has done 2 things. I think it's, and I somewhat agree with Michael Bennett, although you say Thanksgiving Day is a Thursday game, so it's a short week. We've all prepared for short weeks, so I don't think that big a deal. But I think Thursday night has created a saturation of professional football. I think the fans, besides the things that have happened with regard to kneeling and outside the game, I think the fans just have seen so much of it that it's, what's so special about Thursday night? Monday night was always special. Now, truthfully, Sunday Night Football is replaced Monday Night Football as the special night, in my opinion, when it comes to viewing football. And so I think it's too much, but the economics are too big to walk away from it, Dan.
But also you have these guys who say, hey, we're exposing ourselves, we're risking injury, and then you see what happened with Russell Wilson. He's trying, I don't know, be deceitful, but he's trying to avoid going into concussion protocol. So
of course
we can't,
you don't want to do that. I mean, you don't want. I mean, they ask him a bunch of questions. He passes. He comes out. I think, certainly the league wants to do everything to protect the athlete. And Richard Sherman, just as an example, whether Richard Sherman was going to get hurt last night or whether it was going to be next week, obviously he said that Achilles has been bothering him. And we've had, interestingly enough, if you look at the last 3 or 4 years, there have been more and more Achilles tendon problems than almost any injury we've seen. Junior Galette's had 2. A lot of different players have gone down with Achilles. Now, what causes it? I don't know. Is it the way your body's made? Is it the tendon in that area that gives way? You're not certain. But, guys don't want to come off the field. If we had, with the rules that we played under when I played, if there was concussion protocol, you'd have trouble putting an offense on the field with quarterbacks or wide receivers or running backs. I mean, the hits were incredible. But I'm all for safety, and I'm all for protecting the player. I'm all for that. But, sometimes just looking at somebody, I don't know what you can tell. I'm not sure. So, it's a system that has really just come into place, and I'm sure will be more and more refined. But both the players and the owners want protection for the athletes, and I certainly understand it.
I had an eye-opening experience when I was at the mothership, and I was around you guys on Countdown when you were working with those guys, or we were at a Super Bowl, and the sense of humor that former players have, because you went through one of the most grueling injuries ever, and I remember they would have fun at your expense in front of you, and you somehow kept your composure with these guys there at ESPN. You remember that?
It's part of the game. Yeah, absolutely. My experience at ESPN was nothing but great. From working with John Wildhack was my first producer, and then Freddie Godelli was a second, and then Jay Rothman was the third one. I worked through three terrific producers of football games and learned an awful lot from them. But it's part of the game. I mean, we're gunfighters. I'm a competition junkie. I love to compete, but you go out there and you get hurt. It's part of the game. I understand that when I put the uniform on, that there's a possibility something could happen. Certainly, I didn't envision that, to be honest with you. But there's a possibility, and I get when Robin Williams, who I think is one of the funniest human beings ever walked the face of the earth, he did Robin Williams at the Met. He did a skit on my leg. David Letterman, David took a pencil sharpener and did something on my leg. I mean, I've had umpteen skits done about my leg. And, I mean, a lot of the world has seen it. I mean, it's had over 10 or 12 million views on YouTube. And it's really funny because parents will remember it. The young generation, this generation, doesn't. But we just send them to the internet so that they can see exactly what happened. Yeah. So it winds up getting viewed a lot more.
It's always great to catch up with you, Joe. Thank you. We appreciate your time, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
All right. That's Joe Theismann joining us.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.